You know what Australia needs?
What?
Some kind of like organized
An
group
exorcism
of
Yes.
activists who oppose the like overt fascistic tendencies. Maybe like a group that opposes fascism, like an anti-fascist group, like we'll call it Antifa. Does Australia have any kind of like Antifa that could oppose the authoritarian lockdowns?
I'm thinking that maybe if they got together and congregated, maybe we need a Donald Trump in Australia to like kick that off, you know? Maybe,
just to trigger some,
to trigger some people in black outfits running around smashing.
They have Antifa.
Well, I didn't say that.
They have Antifa for sure in Australia. I've seen them.
Did you see the Antifa people?
Oh, there's Antifa there. I know they've come to events of mine and like
Extinction Rebellion has been there too.
Have you guys seen the video of the Antifa people attacking the group that opposed state mandates? Mask mandates?
Yes.
Antifa shows up and they start, they're anti-fascist, but they're pro-state. They're statists. Huh. And that's why I keep telling people, like, do not call Antifa anarchists. They are not anarchists.
They're communists.
They're absolutely. They're communists, they're authoritarians, and they're actual fascists, some of them.
Yeah.
David Graeber, the late David Graeber said that there's an element of the left that has adopted the fascistic ethos of, the fascistic tendencies. Not that to say that they are fascists in the academic sense or they are Nazis, but they certainly believe a lot of the exact same things around, and that was the extent of his Twitter thread, but they do believe these things to the extent of identitarianism, government power and control, to the point where they'll be like, we oppose fascism and will beat back regular Americans who are upset with government and corporate power. Like in DC, when a bunch of conservatives got together and said, we oppose corporate power and centralization, so Antifa showed up and started beating people. It's like, dude, if you're beating people in defense of corporations and the state, you're a fascist.
Yeah.
But hey,
you're also probably ugly. A lot, physiognomy check. Definitely. Have you seen a lot of them? They're deformed looking, and it's so sad because it really is true. They're reprobate.
This is who the Joker targets. Haven't you ever seen The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
This ideology targets people who are desperate and unwell. And so, yes, you look at a lot of these Antifa, not every single one of them, but a lot of them, and they're dejected, antisocial, and unwell in a lot of ways. And so they're attracted to a violent, dogmatic mob. They're not fighting for anything other than they feel pain and they want to cause pain.
They look sick. You know Jason Charter is? Jason Charter is the Antifa organizer in D.C. that...
Did he get arrested?
Yeah, he was getting charged for 2 decades worth of jail time simply because he tried to pull down the Andrew Jackson statue and organize the siege on the White House. But that's what they're alleging.
The insurrection.
Exactly.
That forced the president into the bunker.
Yeah, the insurrection on the actual White House. I've spoken to him. I've had him on my show before too, and it's interesting because when you speak to him, you know, he's disabled. I'm not being rude. He's just got a gaunt looking. People think he looks a little bit like maybe he's on chemo or something like that. He's pansexual. He said this on my show, and it's really, I kind of actually felt bad for a second because what I realized is that at a certain era or time in a different world, this guy probably could have just been like this guy that would have been rejected from society, but now someone gave him a chance to fight back and tear down the regime, to tear down the statue, to be known for something, and he fell into this trap. I believe he fell into this trap. I don't believe he's strong-willed or strong-minded. He fell into this trap, and now he believes he's like a martyr when really he's just like a terrorist, and that's kind of the funny thing. He's actually just a terrorist.
In the past, someone would have helped him.
That's what I'm saying.
Instead, they enable.
But I'm saying, like, they could have like helped him with some programs and find meaning in life and some counseling and get his brain intact. But there's this, instead of helping the weak, like you're saying, it's a society that preys on the weak. And what used to either help or destroy is now about taking advantage of weak people to carry out their deeds.
Them,
and that's what we're seeing now too, even with the COVID stuff, is it's all about preying on the minds of the weak. And I want to say this is so important, but Kez brought this up about Australia because of the rhetoric coming out of Dan Andrews and of Berejiklian. I don't know how you say it. Berejiklian, the premier of New South Wales.
Gladys.
Is that we see this here on a lesser extent, but what the premiers are saying is they make you be obedient, and then they change the goalposts and reimpose the restrictions, and then tell you have to do a little bit more obedience to get the restrictions removed, and then they remove the restrictions, and then they add them again, and then at a certain point they started saying, this is how the rhetoric went. You who are obedient, this sounds like a regime, you who are obedient, the reason why you are unable to finally break out of this constant cycle of lockdown and totalitarianism is because the unvaccinated, the disobedient, are keeping you locked down. And you capitulated. You gave in. Many of you compromised. You got the vaccine when you didn't want to get it. You put on a mask when you didn't want to put it on. You agreed with lockdowns when you didn't think they were right. You held your kids from school. And you know what's happening? Because of this small group of people who are still resistant, you have to be punished again. And their resistance isn't just affecting them, it's affecting you. And it's splitting the population against the subservient and those who are independent. And they're creating this weak group of people who are more and more capitulating and more are giving in to hate the people, thinking that it's the unvaccinated that are causing the problems, but it's the government who are causing them. So it's deflecting off the government. It's like, no, the government is causing the issues. They're the ones locking you down. They're the ones ruining your life. They're the ones instating the restrictions. It's not the unvaccinated people that are ruining your life.
It's kind of weird because, like, I agree with you to an extent, but just looking at the things that, again, I have, like, all my friends and family, you know, a ton of them are in Australia, and the things that they say is stuff like, it's not that hard to wear a mask, just wear a mask. And it's like, these are people who are conservative, or at least like who, you know, lean to the right, or who, you know, are libertarian somewhere on the right wing somewhere. And these are people who are like, well, just wear the mask. Like, it's not that big of a deal, because I think the problem is that, and again, I don't want to say mean things about Aussies, but I think that to some extent people have a hard time connecting the dots between government overreach and how that could inevitably lead to very, very unpleasant things further down the line, which
like
I
the
think
concentration camps.
Precisely. I mean, and no, it's like, it's this, it's not even an ironic thing anymore. It's like the worst thing in the world that they're building these quarantine facilities that people somehow think are normal. And again, they're literally building one of them up the road, or very, very close to where my family lives in Victoria. And it's disturbing in a lot of ways to think about, again, how, and I was trying to find this tweet for Lydia just in case she wanted to, you know, pop it up on screen or something, where someone had basically taken these photos of one of these quarantine facilities and said, well, look how nice it is. Look, there's a pool and there are the people drinking the coffee, and oh, this person's sitting on a deck. Oh, that's freaking great. You can't leave though. It's a nice bloody cage, I'll give you that, but it's still a cage. And you're not there because you want to be. You're not there because of your own free will. You're not there because of your own volition. You're there because the government put you there, and you're defending this. And this is the problem with Australians. Again, Aussies are great people, nicest people, wonderful people, kind people, but they are buttheads sometimes when it comes to this stuff. And this is why I wanted to get out of the country.
Where's Antifa?
They're, I don't know, sitting in their home, home screaming.
Has there been a
pigeons.
prominent Antifa presence in Australia before?
Not really. They tried, but again, Aussies are very politically ambivalent. So to actually get a group of people together who are willing to go and smash things up is actually quite challenging.
Where's New York City Antifa?
We could fly them over, maybe. Maybe they could.
No, I mean like in New York, where they've basically said all disabled people ineligible for the vaccine will be terminated from their jobs on the 13th of September.
I don't know why you're asking me. Ask Elijah. He's
Yeah,
the one who
no,
goes.
Elijah.
He's the one who
Where
plays
they
with
at?
all the Antifa.
Unfortunately, they're the ones thinking that and siding with the state. They're basically some of the most easily manipulated piece of crap people that unfortunately
Bull
for
dust.
us.
I want to get this.
Yes,
That's an Aussie
unfortunately
phrase.
for
bull
us,
dust.
what they are doing is they are pushing the authoritarian mandates. They are an extension of far left political ideology, and whatever the far left is pushing in this country, they just side with. They don't have any original thought. They are well organized, but as of right now, they are being used to bully people, and especially what they are most being known for right now, especially, is attacking anti-lockdown protests, even church groups. I'm sure you guys covered that in Portland. They're attacking prayer meetings. They destroyed an entire ministry's office. They're attacking Christians now because Christians are being seen as some of the few purveyors who are against this tyranny. Who would it be said that people who believe in individual liberty and liberty to Christ would not want the government, coming down on you? The same government that also burned and hung a lot of them upside down and, also killed Jesus. But anyway, thanks for coming back.
We actually need right now, based on what we're seeing in New York, we need actual people who oppose fascism to stand up, reject this, to protest and say no. But I'm looking at NYC Antifa, and they don't care at all. They're cheering for the government on January 6th, all that stuff.
They love all this sort of stuff.
They're like, get them, boys. Because they're not anti-fascist. They just use that as a way to recruit stupid college students who don't know better.
Well, angry people too. Something that I wanted to say actually at the beginning of this show, and we sort of got very off topic talking about cows and things, was when you were talking about this legislation where, the government comes in and can put things on your phone and all of that. I think people need to realize that in Australia especially, and I know this is the same thing here in the United States, and I dare say in most Western countries around the world, but Australia has some of the most psychotic legislation pertaining to what the government can do to you, obviously, but especially towards like terrorism legislation. So when they pass these extreme things, these extreme measures that are, you know, in response to a terror attack or, you know, COVID or whatever the case is, obviously, we all know that they never appeal them, but I think people need to look into some of the terrorist legislation that exists in Australia, the anti-terror legislation, where, like, for example, when I was doing my master degree, I did this ethics course, and basically we had to learn, because it was my master's in journalism, we had to learn about, like, ethics and, you know, where the social contract and all this fun stuff. And they were talking to us about how if you accidentally stumble upon information relating to some of this anti-terrorism legislation where you start covering a story that relates to somebody who's been detained under this specific legislation, you yourself can basically be arrested for uncovering it and speaking about it. So there's all this psycho legislation in Australia that's actually a lot worse than what you're even talking about. And it set the precedent for worse and worse and worse legislation that continues to infringe the rights of Aussies. And Aussies don't know and don't care because they're politically ambivalent. So once again, we roll back around to the fact that, am I surprised that Australians are sitting in their homes and have been sitting in their homes for 200 days plus? No, I'm not, because this is what you get with an ambivalent population.
If they want it, they get what they want, I guess. You know,
we get what we pay for. No refunds.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.